Hello, welcome all to the BS Takes podcast. I am your host, Blake Bartlett. This is episode 2, and we've got some stories to get into today. First story on the list, the MLB return. I don't know if y'all have been watching, but the MLB is back with some preseason games, and the regular season starts tomorrow. I've been watching a lot of these preseason games. I've been having a great time watching them, sitting back with a beer, really things couldn't be better. It's a great, I don't even know how I'm trying to say. It's a great sense of normalcy that we used to have. It was a nice feeling to just sit back and watch some baseball and not really watch some live sports and not really think about all the shitty stuff that's happening in this world. But yeah, I've watched a lot of the games, at least the first half of almost every game, because after the first half they decided to really put in all the backups. But if you catch the first half of most of these games, you've seen a lot of blowouts, some good games, a lot of great players hitting. It was a good time. I'm glad to have baseball back. Now, the first game is tomorrow, July 23rd. The game will be played between the Yankees and Nationals. And funny enough, Dr. Fauci is going to be throwing out the ceremonial first pitch. And that game the starters for that game, for each team, will be Scherzer versus Garrett Cole. So that's sure to be a really, really good pitching game. I think the Yankees are an incredible baseball club. Are going to be an incredible baseball club this year. I think the Nationals aren't going to be as good as they were last year, but they're still going to be at least somewhat competitive. And then later that night, you've got the Giants versus Dodgers. And I would tell you who's going to be pitching in that game, but honestly, the big story to me is that the Dodgers just extended Mookie Betts, so he's not going to be hitting free agency after this year like most of us hoped. He is now going to be with the team from this year plus 12 more years on top of his contract for about over $380 million. So to me, when I heard that, that's crazy. The fact that they, went out and kept Mookie Betts for 12 years on top of this deal. 2, that it's $380+ million. But 3, that is going to be an awful deal in a few years. I know Mookie Betts was pretty good a few years ago. He's not terribly old. And, in baseball, 10-year plus contracts happen. They're not like a rare thing. But I don't see Mookie Betts really living up to that contract. I mean, he was deserving of it maybe when the market was on top and salary caps were looking fine and all that jazz. But I think this is a bad move for the Dodgers. I think they, 1, overpaid, and 2, are going to regret this decision. I don't know, maybe in like 5 years or so. Because you have to think coronavirus is definitely going to affect the salary cap if teams aren't allowed to have fans in the stands. They're not allowed to sell out every season, or at least for the next few years. So you're telling me that you're going to pay Mookie Betts 13 years, $380 million, when you've already got great talent on your roster that you're either going to have to pay or are already paying a lot of money? I mean, I know you're the Dodgers, and I know you've got a lot of money. The same thing to do with the Yankees and whatnot. But, I don't know. I think, the Dodgers had a lot of money to throw around. And, Mookie Betts is a pretty damn good player. But, I don't know, man. It's a yikes for me, man. I don't think that's a great deal. I think they could have gotten him for way less. They could have just been like, hey, Mookie, you don't know what's happening here. We're losing money. You want money. You want a long-term deal. Let's get something done in the frame of 10-year, oh God, I don't know, 280, maybe 10-year 260. I don't know, getting him at cheaper than practically $30 million a year. I mean, I don't know, or even having it a 5-year deal. I don't know. I don't see him finishing out that contract at all. All right, so now I'm going to send it to a segment between me and my special guest, Max Withrow. He's coming on to talk some more baseball with me, so let's send it over to me and him. All right, everyone, I'm back, and I'm with my guest, Max Withrow. Say hi, Max.
How's it going, everybody?
All right. So we've got baseball to talk today, and not just regular baseball, but we're going to be breaking down each division American League and National League, East, Central, and West, and who we think is going to come out as the top in each division, as well as our predictions for the MLB World Series. All right, Max. So let's start with the American League East. We've got the Yankees, the Rays, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, who can't even play in Toronto right now. And then we got the god-awful Baltimore Orioles, who have been god-awful for a very long time.
They're awful. They have been for a while. I think something that you got to keep in mind when getting ready for a season like this, where it's only 60 games. First of all, baseball is a really streaky sport to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
At one point last year, May 24th, that was about 2 months into the season. The Nationals, the eventual World Series champions, were under 500. Not even
right. They were 19 and 31.
Place.
They weren't anywhere near what in a 60-game season what you would consider playoff ready.
Right. And then the other thing is that injuries are going to be massive this year because it's not uncommon for a baseball player to pick up a 14-day injury, 2-week injury, something like that. Just tweak their back, whatever it is.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that could be 25% of the season gone for that player.
Mm-hmm.
When you're only playing for 2 months, a 2-3 week injury becomes almost a whole year, and then someone blows an elbow out, and they're obviously done for the year, and maybe even the next year at this point.
Right. So if you're talking injuries, and in terms of the at least the American League East, the Yankees have been plagued with injuries. I know Stanton's not been healthy a lot. Gary Sanchez struggles with that a little bit. I don't remember if Aaron Judge is at all any injury prone. I think he's all right, but like the Yankees, okay, to me, at least in the American League East, the Yankees are my favorite. Because I don't think Toronto's that good, Baltimore's that good, the Red Sox lost Mookie, and Tampa Bay is good, but they're not the Yankees. So
absolutely. I mean, the Yankees are runaway favorites in the East, but I do expect the Rays to make some noise. Whether that's coming in the wild card, pushing it for the title in the division, but
their pitching staff is elite.
This has got to be the Yankees.
Yeah, the Rays pitching staff is elite. However, the Yankees is just the Yankees. Star-studded. They got the money to be relevant any year, whenever they want to. Yeah. All right. So Yankees out of the East. What about the American League Central? We've got the Minnesota Twins, the Cleveland Indians, or the Cleveland TBDs. I don't know if they're changing that name. The Chicago White Sox, the Kansas City Royals, and the Detroit Tigers. Off the bat, the Royals and Tigers are out the window.
They're not they're not a competition.
Not at all. No. So with them out the window, you got the Sox, the Indians, or the TBDs, whatever, and then the Twins. The Indians, I'm not as sold on. They got a good pitching staff.
I don't like them.
I'm not sold on the Indians, especially a 60-game season. To me, it's between.
And they lost Kluber.
Oh yeah.
They lost Kluber. They held on to Lindor, which is good for them, but they don't really have anything that's going to push them over the line.
Agreed. And I think if you're looking at this Central Division anyways, Minnesota, the Twins, and the White Sox are my two. The Twins were really good last season. We're hitting bomb home runs. But the White Sox got really good this offseason. They added Encarnacion. Absolutely. They added Keuchel. They added
Grandal.
Yasmani Grandal. Like, they're making some noise. They made some noise, some splash in free agency. Yeah. I'm really excited to see how they turn out, or at least how there's the product they put on the field.
I think for the Central, I'm gonna go with the sleeper pick here with the White Sox over the Twins.
You're gonna go with?
They picked up those guys you're talking about.
Wow.
They picked up Gio Gonzalez. They have a young core who can get hot for 2 months. And the Twins are great. They kept their core from last year. I don't even know if they lost anybody.
Yeah.
They picked up Donaldson from the Braves, which is a huge get, assuming he can be anywhere close to what he was last year. An extra slugger in the lineup.
Which is crazy considering they were already home run hitting team, and now they added Josh Donaldson there. It's like, oh my god. I mean, again, it's not going to be anywhere near the numbers, but at least if you take the quote unquote pace average of a 60-game season over 162, they're probably going to blow up what they did last season.
But you do have Michael Pineda out with his PED suspension, out of their pitching staff, and that's going to be big for them in a shortened season. But this will be a really interesting division to watch. I think it'll come down close between these two teams.
So you're taking the Sox? I'm
taking the Sox, just getting hot for these 2 months.
I want to go with you. I really do. But I'm going to go with the Twins. I'm going to go with the Twins. All
If
right.
I'm playing pure favorites, pure talent, it's the Twins, but
Right,
that
right.
ability for that team to get hot, I gotta go.
Right,
Red Sox.
but hey, you could catch me in a couple months with my BS take that it's the Twins. Who knows? Well, I guess we'll just
Who
have to sit
knows?
back,
Who
watch some
knows?
baseball, and find out. All right, so the American League West. I already know my answer before I even read this, but could it be biased? I don't know.
Yeah.
We've got the
I mean,
Houston Astros, Oakland A's, Los Angeles Angels, Texas Rangers, and Seattle Mariners. I got two.
Mariners are awful.
Yeah, you could throw out the Mariners and the Rangers off the rip. They're not contenders.
I mean, I'm gonna go with you with your pick. Everybody knows the Astros.
It's
you got the Astros
like-
jersey behind you.
right there, but okay. So Oakland's good. Don't get me wrong. Oakland is a pretty
Oakland's
scary
really good.
team. It's like the Rays to me, where they don't got a lot of money, but they've got the talent, which is crazy. So they're gonna
They
do
won
well.
97 games last year. They're a good team.
Oh yeah,
Then they didn't lose anybody, but their problem is they didn't add anybody. They're the same team they were last year.
exactly. And I don't know how that's gonna favor them in a 60-game season. I know, I don't know. The West is gonna be really tight for me because of the fact that it's the Angels, Oakland A's, and Houston Astros. The Angels got even better because they added Rendon, but how much can that team be carried by Rendon, Trout, and Ohtani if he's healthy? And I don't know.
They're a super top heavy team.
Oh yeah.
It's their best players are gonna have to carry them, and it's just dependent on if those best
Well,
players are hot for that time.
Mike Trout and
if
Rendon
they
are gonna have to hit a
if they
home run
healthy.
every at bat to carry that team to the fucking World Series.
Yeah. But I mean, Mike Trout can do that.
Oh yeah, well Mike Trout could. Rendon, I mean, he proved that he could do it when he was on the Nationals. It's fun to watch. Not really, but yeah, he's really good. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Astros as my pick. Oakland A's and Angels are right there, neck and neck for me as the second. But I wouldn't be surprised if the A's just got hot, or
Yep.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the A's got hot and passed it. But I would be surprised if the Angels somehow squeaked at number one.
Yep.
All right,
I
so
agree.
this next division is one with your team in it, the National League East. In fact, you've got the Atlanta Braves, the Washington Nats, the New York Mets, Philadelphia Phillies, and the Miami Marlins. What do you think?
Look, this division has 4 good teams in it. Braves,
4?
Mets, Nationals, and Phillies. I'm not totally sold on the Phillies. They're not. I don't consider them contenders.
I mean,
realistically,
you say 4 contenders
But
on
they're
this
not
team? In this division?
they're not 4 contenders.
Oh,
There's not 4 contenders. There's 4 good teams.
okay.
The Phillies are not a walk in the park any day of the week.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't say, unless you're facing DeGrom or maybe Syndergaard on the Mets, that game probably wouldn't be that hard. Or not that hard, but
Yeah, but they added batons for the end of for backside help.
Yeah, they-
bullpen. They got Purcello.
yeah, I guess.
Coming in.
But what about the Nats though? The Nats lost Rendon, and not saying that one player makes your whole team, but without Rendon's clutch hits in the entirety of the playoffs, let alone just the World Series, they would not have won at all.
Well, no, Nationals are not going to be the same place they were last year.
Oh no
They
way!
got hot for the postseason, and that's all you need to be for.
They hit
postseason
that baby
baseball.
shark wave
But
and then just took over. It was
they
weird.
just kept going.
Yeah.
But the thing is that with this shortened format, realistically, the favorite out of this division is the Braves.
It's the Braves. Oh, wow. Tell me why, Atlanta
Yep.
boy.
Well, they lost Donaldson. That's a big loss, but then they went and got Ozuna to help.
That is true.
bolster that
Marcelo Ozuna
lineup.
is a pretty good pickup considering the fact that y'all did lose Josh Donaldson.
We went and got Will Smith for helping the bullpen, who is another great get.
Yeah, that is a good get.
We were linked with Puig for a little while, but what I saw was that he failed his physical because he tested positive for COVID, which is unfortunate.
Does that mean
But
he's
then
out on y'all's radar, or does that mean he's just
I think
put
it's
on
out
hold?
because it's a failed physical.
Ooh.
It's not going to be worth us waiting for the 2 weeks for him to get back,
I
especially
mean-
because this was going to be a this week thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Because if you wait 2
But then-
weeks, then he'll be ready. Yeah, I see. Damn, that sucks for
Went and got
Puig.
Matt Adams for an extra. Went and got Matt Adams for an extra left-handed bat in the lineup. Nothing to write home about, but extra depth in this shortened season, pretty helpful.
Oh yeah, I can
But,
imagine.
You look at that lineup from top to bottom. Acuna, Albies, Freeman.
I'm a
Ozuna.
huge
You got
Acuna and
Camargo
Albies
going
fan,
into third.
bro. I love Albies, Ozzy Albies. I love Ronald Acuna. I think those two are
Most
great.
fun
They're the
team in
future of the
baseball.
Braves, bro. Mike Soroka, like,
Mike Soroka, he still got Freed around.
yeah,
Foltynewicz
man.
is still
Oh,
around.
Freddie Free. I love myself some Freddie Freeman. Oh, yeah, man. That guy's really good.
And then you take those, you got Johan Camargo at third base, who's nothing to slouch at.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Darno behind the plate now.
Travis d'Arnaud,
And
true.
Tyler Flowers to come in. And then you've got Markakis still on the roster. Or he might have...
All right.
Off
You
my head.
tipped me. I'll agree. Braves are definitely the favorite in that division. I probably wouldn't have gone with the Braves. I might have gone with the Phillies. Not because I'm like a huge Phillies guy, but I believe in Bryce Harper. And many people do not.
I can't.
See, that's fine. I get it.
I don't like their bullpen. I don't like their pitching.
I don't think it's that great either. Well, then maybe I would have gone with the Braves. You know what? I'll just go with the Braves. You got me, man. All right, now we're going to go on to the NL Central. Got St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, Milwaukee Brewers, Chicago Cubs, and Pittsburgh Pirates. So this one's a little hard for me.
I think this is going to be the most interesting division of baseball this year.
Oh, yeah. It's a complete toss-up. Could the Cubs win?
You don't have a clear front runner.
Could the Cubs...
You don't have a clear front runner.
Oh, yeah. There's no clear front runner because that's what I'm about to say. Like, could the Cubs win it? Yes. Could the Brewers win it? Yes. Could the Reds win it? Yes. Could the Cards win it? Yes. I don't think the Pirates, but every division's got a one team that's just in its real rebuilding mode or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so Cards, great team, playoff team, made a little bit of run last year. I don't want to talk about that. But they lost Ozuna.
They did. They lost it to the Braves, too. So.
Big power guy for them, but they're still a solid team. The Cards can always put together a good season, year in, year out.
Oh, yeah.
Cubs are in a weird spot nowadays. They're stuck on the fence whether or not they should sell and rebuild.
Their team has been like the same for the past few years, and it's always looked great on paper, but then the actual on-field performance has never matched up to the hype, I would say.
They're just in a weird spot.
Yeah. And I love the Brewers. Yeah, the Brewers. Or at least I believe in Yelich. Can't believe the Marlins had him and Stanton at one point. Dude, could you imagine, bro? If the Marlins had Stanton and Yelich just donging home runs 3-4 or like 2-4 or whatever. But yeah, no, the Brewers got him. They still got Ryan Braun, who's a shell of his former self in my opinion, but you know.
He still could do damage, but they did lose Grandal. They did lose Moustakas.
Losing Grandal and Moustakas are big L's, though.
They picked up Garcia. They picked up Smoke. They picked up Healy, which aren't.
They're good replacements, but like I think they were better off
depth.
last season than they were this season. But again, Yelich, 60-game season, you never really know. Right? Even the teams we threw out earlier, though, before we even get to the Reds, even the teams we threw out earlier before could just get hot and then make it to the playoffs. I mean, they probably could get destroyed, but any team could make it to the playoffs realistically.
Only two. I'm going to discount the Orioles and Marlins.
Okay, fine. I'll throw the Royals in there too. Those are locks.
Yep.
Guarantee no playoffs. Marlins, Orioles, and Royals. Easy.
Yep.
Okay, so what you saying about the Reds?
They got Moustakas from the Brewers.
They still got Votto.
They still got Castellanos. He came back, but they did lose Dietrich. He got released, or he opted out of his contract. So he's a free agent right now. But he wasn't realistically. He was a flashy player, could hit for power, but wasn't anything to write home about. I think he hit like 230 last year. Besides that one little stretch. But I think Reds are sneaky. They're sneaky this year.
Yeah, they could get hot. They could get hot and take that playoff spot.
I like them in the Central.
Well, the Central, I mean, again, I like all four of those teams, like, besides the Pirates.
Yeah,
any single one would have come out, and I would be like, yeah, okay, makes sense. So.
If I got to pick one, though, I got to go Reds. I like them. They're sneaky.
Ooh, if I'm going to pick one, I trust Christian Yelich. I'm going to pick the Brewers. So I'm going to go with
That's fair.
All right. So
I can't make an argument against any of those 4 teams, really.
yeah, exactly. I couldn't make one myself. So last team or last division on the list, you've got the National League West, which this one's kind of easy. You've got the Los Angeles Dodgers, Arizona Diamondbacks, San Diego Padres, Colorado Rockies, and San Francisco Giants. And as much as I like all those teams on that list besides the Dodgers, it's the Dodgers. The Dodgers are clear favorites with Mookie Betts. I mean, they already do well, it seems like, every year, and then now they just added Mookie Betts. So, like,
they were already good. They added him. They added David Price, who's old but still serving.
Oh, he's not playing, bro.
Oh, did he opt out?
Yeah, he opted out. He's not playing. So,
I missed that. Mookie Betts.
So, yeah, I mean, they still got Mookie, and Mookie is perfectly good enough as an addition to that team.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, I feel better that they don't have David Price because, like, now their rotation has to be, like, decent. It can't just be, like, win every night just because the offense can score 5 and their defense can let up 2, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Dodgers. So, on my list, I've got, the Yankees, the Twins, the Astros, the Braves, the Brewers, and the Dodgers. And you differ with me on the Twins. Instead of the Twins, you say White Sox. And instead of...
Yeah, I say White Sox out of the Central.
Oh, so we differ on both Centrals. We differ on both Centrals, but we agree on East and West.
Yeah.
All right. So now out of the top 3 that we've had on Yours and My Side, who do you think is going to be in... who's going to go to the World Series?
Out of the NL, realistically, it's the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a Brave Dodgers NLCS.
I can see
it'll
that.
Be a pretty decent series, but Braves again won't be able to push over the line against them. Dodgers will go through.
The Dodgers just have so much depth, so much talent. It's hard to even I think an AL team could beat him, a top AL team, but I don't think any NL team can really comp right now.
For sure. So the way I see it playing out of the AL is that I do have the White Sox coming out of the Central as a top team, but the Twins are going to sneak through as a wild card.
I'd agree with that. At the least.
Make a run like the Nationals last year, end up a Yankees-Twins ALCS. Out of those, it's a tough pick. But I think between those 2 teams, whoever that is will manage to beat the Dodgers in the World Series.
So you think it's going to be Yankees, Dodgers, or Twins Dodgers? I'm sorry, does that say? Where's the Astros? Where'd they go? You didn't even consider them.
In the divisional round.
Oh, they lost in the division to who?
Probably the Yankees.
You think?
Realistically.
Oh man, you think we're gonna lose to the Yankees? I mean, I guess if any team is gonna beat us, it's gonna be the Yankees. But if they don't beat the Astros, no one's going to beat the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
The only way I see the Astros making it is if it's the White Sox out of the Central.
What? You don't think we can beat the Yankees at all?
There's a chance, but Yankees are still going to pull through that series. Yankees are too good.
Look, I think the Yankees have a great lineup, but do the Astros also have a fire lineup? All right, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm also a personal bias, so I can't be completely like... We can't have that much of a back and forth because there's not enough give for me to give. So yeah, you know what? You say Yankees Dodgers or Twins Dodgers. I say Houston Dodgers, which I would love a rematch of, because then we could win another ring, and then it'd be like, well, we got 2, and it doesn't. Yeah, whatever, bro. And then, but I could see New York Dodgers. That'd be kind of dope. Or my sleeper long shot would be Braves Chicago White Sox. That's my sleeper long shot.
Yep, I would say that's sleeper long shot.
Yeah.
That or real sleeper, Braves A's.
Braves A's? You're telling me the A's are gonna have to come out of the division with the Astros and the Angels, and then also beat the Twins, White Sox, or New York? What?
I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm saying that's a real sleeper pick.
That's a real sleeper. You want to know what a real sleeper pick? A real sleeper pick is saying that the Rays are gonna make it, bro. That's a real sleeper.
Yeah, I could see that. That's the thing is that this is just such a
But the
shootout,
Rays
who
have enough
knows? 'Cause,
pitching to like survive that, though.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
The
Well,
thing is that this year, instead of every series mattering, it's every game now.
that is true. Well, I mean, shoot, man, a 60-game season is just so like I talked about this in my last podcast. Like every game is so important, and before you could have a 3 or 4 games like a home series or away series with another team. Like if we're playing the Mariners, the Astros playing the Mariners, I could watch a couple games, miss 1 or 2, and not feel bad. Watch 50% of them or 75% of the games and not feel bad for missing that other one because it didn't. It doesn't matter in the long run. As long as we go 3-1 every series or 2-2, 3-1 in most series, we're gonna make the playoffs, right? So, at least this year, as a fan, I'm really excited to watch because that means every moment of every game is going to be extremely intense rather than it being like, whatever. If we, it's 1-1, bottom of the ninth, we're already won 100 games, like whatever, versus it being like, we have to win this or else they're going to win this, blah, 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 blah. So.
And the other thing comes into team strategy at that point. Because, the general strategy going into a season is walk in, win the series. So take 3 of 4, take 2 of 3, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So you take the first 2 of a series, you got your third, and you say, okay, if we don't have to blow all of our pitching on this, we can let some guys rest, but now you can't.
Right.
You have to try to win every single game.
Right, yeah. No, there's no such thing as rest. Like it's moving and grooving and going and winning like man. I can't wait. I can't believe the season starts tomorrow. I am so excited. It's like oh man, it's a kid on Christmas morning feeling, man. You know what I mean?
Like, Christmas in July, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the preseason games. Don't get me wrong, but when things matter and stats get counted, like each hit counts, every at bat counts, wins and loss counts, score counts. Like I love that when it all matters versus it being like, hey, they went up 15. These 3 guys hit a home run, but no one will ever remember it because no one keeps preseason record stats.
Hey, Matt Adams hit a walk-off bomb. I watched that.
Well, I mean, of course you'd like that. And I watched some Astros games where some backups hit some bombs off even more backups on the Royals, which if you're a backup on the Royals, you were far off from making the MLB. But, all right, enough of me clowning on Royals backups. Hey, Max, that's all the time I have for this segment, but I really appreciate you coming on. That's all I got to say. So now back to the regular rest of the podcast. Welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. Now we're going to be moving on to the NBA. And not only has the NBA preseason started, but as the NBA gears up to resume its season on July 30th, the league, along with the National Basketball Players Association, the NBPA, announced that there were no positive COVID-19 test results from the 346 players that were tested since July 13th. Now, to me, crazy. It's looking like the bubble is working. It's looking like the bubble was one of the greatest ideas that they could have come up with. To me, I wasn't sure if the bubble was going to work. Now, I mean, the idea that you could bring all these players together, quarantine them, and then allow them to either fight off the rest of the virus or not bring the virus through or what, it seemed like a very, now what's the word am I looking for? It just seemed like a grand idea. It seemed like maybe it was possible, but definitely not probable. But now that it's happening and now that it's working, to me, it seems amazing. It seems like this could be the blueprint that major sports organizations use, more specifically like the MLB, the NFL. All those organizations could look at what the NBA is doing right now and try to emulate and replicate that for future use. Small thing, Russell Westbrook is back in the bubble. He had COVID. And as I was saying with the preseason games, man, they've been really, really fun to watch. As a big fan of basketball myself, I'm just having a great time watching the games. I know I was just watching the Clippers and Magic game earlier. I think the Wizards and the Denver Nuggets are playing right now. Those are some cool games. I love seeing the highlights. I love my phone blowing up with sports clips. So, I can't really complain. So yeah, that was just the small little NBA segment that we have today, but we've got a lot of NFL news to cover. So smaller stuff, you've got the contract extensions. Titans running back Derrick Henry signed a 4-year team-friendly extension worth $50 million with $25 million of that guaranteed. And now, I think it's possible that you could make the argument that Derrick Henry is one of the top 3 running backs in the league, if not maybe the number 1 back in the league. I'm not myself making that argument, but I could see someone making that argument for him. I agree that he's at least the top 5 running back in the league. I don't think it's a BS take to say that the reason the Titans were so competitive last year in the playoffs was because of Derrick Henry and his ability to carry his team as well as other players on the other team down to the finish line. So this extension makes him only the 5th highest paid running back in the NFL at the moment, which to me is crazy just because, again, if you consider how much they're paying him to how much they're paying other running backs and how much he brings to the team versus how much the other running backs on their respective teams bring to that team, you'd think they're getting a pretty good deal. So the list of highest paid running backs and their salaries are, you got Christian McCaffrey at number 1 at $16 million, which do I personally think you should be paying running backs all this money? No, I don't think running backs are worth $16 million. But to each franchise their own. So Christian McCaffrey's got $16 million. Ezekiel Elliott is being paid $15 million a season by the Cowboys. Le'Veon Bell is number 3 on that list at $13.1 million from the Jets. You got David Johnson on my hometown Houston Texans at $13 million this season, which definitely not a stretch to say he is wildly overpaid. And now 5th on that list at Derrick Henry at $12.5 million. So you've heard the 4 people I just mentioned before. I would take Derrick Henry over David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell at this moment, and maybe Zeke and McCaffrey. Now, Zeke is a great running back, but he's also been behind and like a fantastic O-line, so it's kind of hard to tell really. Is he that great without that O-line as well? Is that just who he is? While Christian McCaffrey's a little bit easier to look at and be like, wow, yeah, he's great. He's a great running back, a great pass-catching running back. He's a receiver. He's got it all. Best running back / receiving back in the league, easily. I also think that he would and should have gotten a higher deal from the Titans. I think the Titans got a steal when they signed him for just $12.5. He could have easily demanded maybe $13.5, $14, maybe even $15. So yeah, good for the Titans. And then on top of that, it's a good deal for the Titans because they're only guaranteeing him 25 of that $50 million over 4 years. So in 2 years, if they really think that he's fallen off or just is meh, they can just cut him, gone, out of there. They don't have to deal with that penalty free. Another player on my list of extensions, you've got Chris Jones, a D tackle for the Chiefs. He is signing a 4-year, $85 million deal with $60 million guaranteed. This puts Chris Jones in the top 3 highest paid D tackles in all the National Football League. At number 1, it's Aaron Donald, no surprise to me, who plays for the Los Angeles Rams at $22.5 million. Aaron Donald is a beast. He is a man amongst boys. He is a killer defensive tackle. And then you've got new Colts D tackle DeForest Buckner at $21 million. Now DeForest is pretty good. Do I really think he should be, or do I think he's worth $21 million? No, but he's number 2 on this list. And then number 3, you've got Chris Jones. Now, so the Chiefs just already paid a bag to Pat Mahomes, and now they're paying $20 million a season for a pretty damn good D tackle. But you're paying those guys a lot of money. You're going to pay Tyreek Hill a lot of money. You're going to have to pay Tyrann Mathieu a lot of money. You're going to have to pay Frank Hill. You're going to have to pay Edwards-Helaire is still a rookie, so you got him on a good deal. But just so many players, Sammy Watkins, on that team who are going to get massive contracts or are going to have to leave. So good for Chris Jones. Good for the Chiefs locking up their superstar D tackle. He's coming off a 9-sack season last year in a Super Bowl win, so you can't really blame him for signing him. He is a pretty good player. Last signing, you've got Myles Garrett, who it's not so recent, but he signed a 5-year, $125 million extension with the Browns. So now he is number 1 on D-end lists at $25 million a season. He had 10 sacks in 10 games last season before the whole Mason Rudolph incident. So I'd say worth it. I think Myles Garrett is insane. I think he's going to put up a lot of numbers for the Browns. God knows the Browns need help. All the help they can get anyways. So good for Myles Garrett getting some money, and good for the Browns for locking up their star D-end for the next 5 years. All right, so a little bit of funny news before we get into the more serious news that I've got. So a little bit of funny news. I'm going to put up the tweet, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So Bud Light is partnering with the Denver Broncos, and they are pledging to give everyone a free beer if the kicker, Brandon McManus, can beat Detroit's kicker, Matt Prater's career or the longest field goal record of 64 yards. So if Brandon McManus can kick a 65-yard plus field goal, everyone will get a free beer on Bud Light's dime. Now, am I sure if this is just in Colorado or everywhere? I would love that it'd be everywhere. But if it's only in Colorado, well, good for y'all. But yeah, still pretty funny. And then some not so funny news, some more serious news. The Redskins, I'm sure y'all are already aware at least of the Redskins name change that is coming about soon. But the Redskins are also in the news as of late with some not good headlines. So the Redskins have been, or at least some members of that organization have been involved in some sexual harassment scandals. I've got a long list of things that I'm going to go through right now, so just sit back and get ready to listen to this. So 15 female former Redskins employees detailed accounts of sexual harassment to the Post, including Emily Applegate, a former marketing coordinator who spoke to the newspaper on the record. The story outlines a culture of rampant harassment and toxicity where women were regularly subjugated to sexual remarks and inappropriate touching. Among the examples of alleged misconduct was Michael describing the attractiveness of a college intern on a hot mic, Santos inappropriately touching and making advances towards 2 reporters and a host of employees, and group messages debating the appearances of female colleagues. Women were also repeatedly told to wear revealing clothes, according to the report. Several employees accused of the abusive behavior were reportedly investigated but not dismissed at the time. This week, however, 3 people implicated in the article retired or removed from the organization. Oh, I'm sorry. I read that a little bit wrong. I read that with the wrong influx. Sorry. Those 3 people that were implicated in the article retired or were removed from the organization. Michael retired and Santos was dismissed. Assistant Director of Pro Personnel Richard Mann II was also fired. While Snyder was not accused of making sexual remarks to women, he, quote-unquote, routinely belittled top executives, according to 3 former members of his executive staff. On one occasion, the report states Snyder mocked then-president of business operations Dennis Green for having been a male cheerleader in college. That type of leadership apparently set in motion a top-down culture of abuse. It was the most miserable experience of my life, Applegate said, and we all tolerated it because we knew if we complained, and they reminded us of this, there were 1,000 people out there who would take our job in a heartbeat. And another thing is, how far back do these accusations go? The earliest accusation in the Post report came from an incident in 2006, and the most recent report was that of 2019. Now, reading these reports, I am disgusted. It more means than I can even articulate. I feel for every girl who was involved in this, every woman who was involved in this. I hope that the NFL comes down with a swift and righteous judgment upon the Washington Redskins. And now I'm going to read you the statements from Dan Snyder and the NFL. From Dan Snyder, he says, the behavior described in yesterday's Washington Post article has no place in our franchise or society, which I agree upon. The story has strengthened my commitment to setting a new culture and standard for our team, a process that began with the hiring of Coach Ron Rivera earlier this year. And honestly, there's a little bit more, but I could give less of a shit on what Dan Snyder has to say. The fact that he let any of this happen under his watch, under his organization, is just pitiful. I think you should leave. You should leave the organization. You should quit. You should do something. Distance yourself. You are a shame. You are a terrible, terrible, terrible person. And I don't think of anyone. I can't think of anyone else who should be fired from their job other than Dan Snyder. Or who should relinquish their position other than Dan Snyder. Now, the statement from the NFL, you've got, these matters as reported are serious, disturbing, and contrary to the NFL's values. Everyone in the NFL has the right to work in an environment free from any and all forms of harassment. Washington has engaged outside counsel to conduct a thorough investigation into these allegations. The club has pledged that it will give its full cooperation to the investigator, and we expect the club and all attorneys, upon the conclusion of their investigation, and take any action based on the findings. Oh, they will meet with the attorneys. So yeah, the NFL is just going to do their due diligence. They're going to try to figure out what happened here, corroborate all the stories, figure out who needs to get punished. And good for them. I think that the NFL needs to act upon this quicker rather than sooner rather than later. I think it's a shame. The Washington Redskins, I mean, people were just sitting around waiting for a name change, and then this stuff drops, and it's crazy. A good thing they're rebranding. Not only was their name racist to begin with, but they now will leave a whole legacy behind of the Redskins, one that is tarnished, at least in these last few, 10, 13 years. God. I just can't believe something like that happened. I thought that some news was going to come out that, Dan Snyder was betting on his games to lose, so he was going to make some money. He was paying the refs to have them lose, maybe get better draft picks. Stuff that's crazy, but it's stomachable in the sports world. But this stuff is just crazy and just disgusting, and I hate it. I hate that it happened. I feel for everyone involved, and I really hope that the justice will find them. Yeah. So. My last thing on today, I asked on Twitter if anyone had any topics or questions or anything that they wanted to send my way for me to discuss as I close out the podcast. I got a couple responses in which I will go through now. One comment that I got under that tweet was Elena Delle Donne and being declared not at risk to play. She has Lyme disease and is immunocompromised and really is at risk to play in this upcoming WNBA season. And the team that she's playing for already said they're willing to pay her salary throughout 2020, even if she doesn't play, which is good. But the WNBA itself did not rule her a major, or they ruled her not at risk rather than being at high risk. And for what reason, I have no idea. She has Lyme disease. She's immunocompromised. My mom's immunocompromised, and I couldn't imagine my mom or Elena Delle Donne feeling comfortable enough to go in these high-risk environments and do the things that they are, I guess, getting paid to do. It's just not a good situation for her. I feel for her. I hope the league smartens up a little bit. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Another question or statement, something that was posed on Twitter, is the NFL testing showing 90 players positive for COVID. So I guess recently 90 players tested positive. And I guess he's asking me if I think the NFL will be able to make it through a season without an NBA-like bubble. Quick answer for you, no. Or at least I'm pretty sure it won't. The NFL, much like the MLB, is going to try to play its games and be super, super safe and all that. But it can only go so far. I think the NBA is showing us the perfect way of being able to get sports back, especially in today's climate. But I don't know. If the MLB can last, then I'll be more hopeful about the NFL. But I have a strong feeling the NBA is going to do fine. I have queasy feelings about the MLB and how that's going to go, but at least certainly is looking positive. But the NFL is the one where I'm just really not sure. I want to say yes, I want to be optimistic, and I want to believe that the NFL, everything's just going to go fine. But yeah, with no bubble, and with how little they seem prepared at the moment, and how little their how little information they're transporting to their players in the NFLPA. It's a yikes for me, and I don't really see the NFL going smoothly. Anyways, it could finish, but I don't see it going smoothly. Now, lastly, I've got a question posed from my friend David. The last question was from my friend Alex as well. And the first question was from my girlfriend. Shout out to you. But last question from David. Blue Jays not being allowed to play in Toronto. I guess that's not a question, more of a statement. Yeah, the Blue Jays, they're not allowed to play in Toronto this season. Canada doesn't want players from the U.S., nor their team flying from the U.S. to Canada, going back and forth and bringing the coronavirus to and from Canada. So, I mean, at least that makes sense. However, it's going to be tough for them as they do have their spring training facilities in Florida. So they do have a place to play, but it's not really a great place. And another big city that's considering allowing the Blue Jays to play is Buffalo. They're considering allowing the Blue Jays to come and play in Buffalo. And I guess that's all I really know about it now. We really will know a lot more when their first home game is coming about and they're scrambling to figure out where they want to put these players. So I guess all we have to do is sit back and see and wait until they figure out what they're going to do. That is all, folks. Thank you so much. If you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and also leave a comment on anything you want me to discuss prior, or if you have anything to say about this podcast. My name is Blake Bartlett. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening, morning, whatever time it is for you.